parents want me arrested because my golden brother stole and crashed my car, but karma had other plans. I'm 21 years old and I have an older brother named Dave, who's always been a jerk to me. We're only a year apart, but when we were kids, he used to beat me up and acted like everything I owned was his, too. He was also the golden child, which always pissed me off. So it was no surprise when I moved out at 18. My uncle, a retired police officer, took me in after I left home. He even gave me a car, an old Ford Crown Victoria that had been sitting and used. And I have to say, I absolutely love that car. For some reason, Dave hated that I had it. He wrecked 3 cars while my Crown Vic stayed in perfect shape. When he totaled his third car by crashing it into a pole, he asked to borrow mine. I had a bad feeling and told him no. He called me arrogant and said he needed it to get to work. I told him to take the bus because I knew how he drove, and my Crown Vic was off limits. My parents called me after that and told me to just lend him the car. I said no, no matter what they said. I need my car too, I have a job just like he does. Dave wasn't the only person in the world who needed transportation. My uncle actually congratulated me for standing up to them and gave me a fist bump. A few days later, after work, I walked out to find my car wasn't where I'd parked it. I called Dave's phone, no answer. Then I called my parents and asked if he'd taken it. They denied it at first, but when I said I was going to call the police, they finally admitted he had borrowed it because he needed it. I told them he'd better return it immediately or I would call the cops. They called me an idiot and told Dave to bring the car back. He pulled up in the parking lot about 20 minutes later. I demanded to know how he stole my car, and he showed me a set of police-issue Crown Victoria keys he had bought online. Some of them are universal. I told him if he ever stole my car again, I'd call the police and have him arrested. Then he had the nerve to ask me for a ride home. I told him he made me wait in the freezing December cold after stealing my car so he could walk. He called me an asshole as I got in the car and drove off. After that, my uncle installed a tracker on the car. On Christmas Day, we were celebrating with the family like we did every year. The roads were cold and icy, so I had to be really careful driving. Now, you've probably guessed from the title. Yup, Dave borrowed my car again during the Christmas party. Apparently, he decided to pick up a friend and thought I wouldn't notice. But I did. I looked out the front window and saw my car was gone. I opened the tracking app and saw it was a few miles away. I immediately called his cell to chew him out. Everyone at the party saw what was happening and asked what was going on. I told them Dave had stolen my car again. And my uncle confirmed it wasn't the first time. Dave told me over the phone to screw off and said he'd be back soon. I told him he shouldn't have been drinking and then gotten behind the wheel, but he just hung up on me. While I was watching the tracking app, the dot stopped moving and didn't move for a while. Then we got a panicked call from Dave begging for help. He had crashed the car, couldn't handle the icy roads and wasn't used to driving a rear-wheel drive vehicle. So we all piled into my parents' minivan and followed the tracker. We found Dave on the side of the road and my Crown Vic nose first in a snow-filled ditch. My uncle was livid. That car had once belonged to his department. And I was furious Dave had stolen it again. My parents wanted me to just let it go. But I told them I'd had enough and was calling the police. Dave begged me not to because he had been drinking before driving and would get a DUI. I told him he better pay to fix my damn car or I'd sue him. Turns out, someone had already called the police and they were on their way to check the scene. When the cops showed up, my parents tried to say I had been the one driving and they were just there to help me. I told them that was a lie, and my uncle backed me up. One of the officers recognized my uncle and they had a chat. Then they walked over to Dave and asked for his driver's license. That's when we found out his license was suspended after he wrecked his last car. So they gave him a breathalyzer. Next thing we knew, he was in handcuffs while my mom cried and begged the cops not to take him. But one of them told her and my dad that they could be arrested too for lying to the police. That shut them up real quick. We all got back in the van and drove home, since my uncle had ridden with me. My parents didn't say much the whole ride back and just dropped us off and peeled out, almost running off the road as they sped away. Dave was released the next day, and he looked completely shaken, like he was about to cry. The officers had scared him pretty bad by telling him about the kinds of things they'd seen in jail. He even pissed himself during it, and they made him take a shower. That's when my uncle started laughing and revealed that his friends on the force never filed the DUI charge, only the charge for driving with a suspended license. That was a $600 fine. My uncle said he just wanted to teach Dave a lesson, and that would be the only time he helped him. Dave later apologized to me, promised to pay for the Crown Vic repairs, and swore he'd never touch it again. When the car was pulled out of the ditch, the front-end damage was actually a lot less than I expected. It just needed a new front bumper, a headlight, and a grille. Thankfully, it was only cosmetic. My parents have pretty much ignored the whole incident and acted like it never happened. Dave handed over the extra set of Crown Vic keys he bought online and told me this taught him a lesson he won't forget anytime soon. Update: now my dad is in jail. Well, this is an update to my previous post, and everything happened just yesterday. My brother promised he would pay for the damage to my car, and he kept that promise. The guy at the repair shop gave me a good deal to replace the damaged parts on the front of my Crown Victoria. He only asked if I minded if the parts weren't OEM. I told him I didn't care since the car is far from new and I didn't want the bill to be too high. I thought the damage was only cosmetic, but there were some minor issues the shop would need to fix. Thankfully, nothing structural. They told me it was an easy fix. There was a bit of damage on the fender panels, but again, they said it was an easy job. Especially since I didn't care if everything looked perfect, and the new parts would be painted to match. So that's good. My brother paid the repair shop upfront in cash after getting their estimate. He seemed really eager to hand over the money and even politely said goodbye to me. I won't say how much it was, but it definitely put a dent in his savings, especially after the fine he had to pay for driving without a license. He was planning to buy another car, but now he won't be able to until his license suspension is over. I don't know when that'll be, but I assume it's going to be a while. Anyway, my parents gave him a ride to the shop. And as soon as he got out, they stayed behind and started scolding me for making him spend all his money fixing my car. I could tell they were about to say something like, "You should have just lent him your car in the first place, and none of this would have happened." But something inside me snapped, and I cut them off. That's when everything came pouring out. I confronted them about all the favoritism, how they always treat my brother like he's more important. How I had to go live with my uncle just to escape the unfair treatment. How they let my brother steal my car and tried to lie about it until I threatened to call the police. How they even tried to lie to the police and say I was the one driving when my brother crashed my Crown Victoria. And a whole lot more. I finished by pointing out how ridiculous it was that they were mad at me for making my brother pay for the damages he caused after stealing my car on Christmas Day, driving drunk, and without a license. By the time I stopped, I was nearly out of breath. My mom was crying. My dad's face turned red, and he looked like he was about to explode. Then he just grabbed my mom's hand and started to walk out. But some guy I didn't even know, who was sitting near the door, yelled out, "You're both narcissists." Well, that was all it took for my dad to completely lose it, and he attacked the guy. My dad isn't a small man, and he definitely knows how to throw a punch. He started beating the poor guy like some kind of crazed gorilla. I shouted for the receptionist to call the police, and he did. When my dad heard that, he ran out the door and sped off. He actually left my crying mother behind at the shop and just fled. The police had to go pick him up at home. Surprisingly, he cooperated when they arrested him, but now he's facing assault charges. The guy he attacked had a badly swollen black eye, a possibly broken nose, and might have a concussion. I was there when they loaded him into the ambulance to take him to the hospital. My mom called me later, crying and blaming herself. My uncle said it was about time my dad got a taste of karma. And my brother is doing everything he can to stay out of the whole mess. This is definitely not how I thought any of this would turn out. Edit: holy crap. I stepped away for a day and came back to over 130 messages in my inbox. Thank you all so much for the support. There are way too many comments for me to reply to each one, but I am reading them. And I'm glad so many of you understand just how awful my parents have been. Final update. I know it's been months, but I finally have an update for everyone. The guy my dad assaulted is doing fine now. Aside from needing to have his nose fixed, the rest of his injuries healed well. He ended up filing a lawsuit against my parents. At first, my dad was stubborn as a mule about it and was determined to fight it, but he eventually changed his mind. Why? Well, for several reasons. The first was that, in the middle of the night, someone smashed several windows of my parents' minivan. My uncle said the police were pretty sure it was done with a high-powered air compressor tool. Sounds plausible. But no culprit was ever found. My dad replaced the van windows himself, like he's done before. And no one has vandalized the vehicle since, but I suspect whoever did it might have been a friend or relative of the guy my dad attacked. The next thing was that a lawyer told my dad he didn't stand a chance in court. There was surveillance footage, multiple witnesses, including me, and no sane judge would ever take his side. The final straw was my mom threatening to divorce him. And I guess that was enough for him to finally give in during mediation before the case could go to trial. He settled with the guy he attacked at the shop. I don't know the amount, since my mom won't tell me, but I'm guessing it was a lot. As part of the agreement, my dad was also required to attend anger management therapy. I've only seen him a few times over the past few months. And it's painfully obvious that he's still mad at me. He won't look me in the eye and always seems to be simmering with rage. But after everything that happened, he has no way to justify his anger anymore. Not even to himself. So now he just sits there in silence, boiling inside. Apparently, he's also cut back a lot on drinking. Probably because that's one less expense for him and my mom to deal with. Now, about my brother. You'll probably be glad to hear that he's been trying to make things right with me. He moved out of our parents' house and is now living with a friend. He got his driver's license back, but he doesn't have a car because he can't afford one yet. Instead, he's been riding a bike to work. His relationship with our parents is more strained now, though. After a while, our dad started redirecting his anger toward my brother. He finally started blaming him for all the crap that happened over the holidays, and our mom had to calm him down. He's a lot more composed now that he's in anger management, but it's obvious he still hates me. Not that my parents are offering any family therapy or even couples counseling. And I suspect that's because my dad doesn't want anyone else telling him he's wrong. My mom, brother, and uncle all agree with that too. My dad is still employed. His client base dropped off for a while, but it's picking back up now. My mom says he wants to get dentures for the teeth he lost. Yeah, I found out he lost more than one tooth after getting out of jail. It started with just one. But several of his upper teeth were already in bad shape. He had to get a few more pulled. So now he's missing 6 teeth on the upper left side of his mouth. A lot of people in my earlier posts criticized my uncle for helping make sure my brother's DUI didn't end up on his record. And I've had mixed feelings about it too. My uncle read a lot of the comments, and finally, after a few months, he told me he'd never do anything like that again, no matter who it is. I agreed with him, and my brother understands that too. So no one will ever expect my uncle to cover for them again if they get arrested. So that's my final update, folks. Take care. P.S. Yes, my car is fine. It now has a tracker and a kill switch. And there haven't been any mechanical issues since it was repaired.
Comment. Leather_athlete. Primeiramente, lamento que você tenha ermeo sme pias que acum que ele é mais importante do que você. Os valores e atitudes deles me deixam confuso. Fui criado em uma família que tratava todos nos da mesma forma, com amor e compreensão. Minha irmã mais velha e eu éramos grandes amigos. Sou hamem, alias, e ela é 3 anos mais velha que eu. Meu irmão mais velho tem 9 anos a mais do que eu. Também somos muito próximos. Ele começou a me ensinar a consertar carros quando eu tinha 8 anos. Neo me lembro dele ter levantado a mão para mim em uma vez. Ele me ajudou a consertar meu próprio carro quando fiquei mais velho e nunca cobrou nada por isso. Teve uma vez MK Restoria Ford Coupe 1951. Quando terminei, de presente de Natal para o meu irmão. Esse era o tipo de família que eu tinha. Fico furioso e over pias tratando seus filhos do jeito que os trataram você. Se meu irmão tivesse feito algo parecido, eu o teria perdoado de primeira vez, mas teria deixado bem claro o quanto estava bravo com o comportamento irresponsável. Se ele repetisse o erro como seu irmão fez, eu não teria feito o que você fez. Eu teria mandado ele se ferrar e denunciado o carro como roubado. Ele precisa ser responsabilizado pelas próprias acos. Ainda mais considerando que ele estava dirigindo bebado. Por isso que seu irmão precisa crescer e virar adulto. E seus pais deveriam estar ajudando nisso, não tratando ele como se ainda fosse uma criança. Ele precisa aprender a ser responsável por si mesmo e pelas coisas que faz. E quer saber? Eu não me importaria se meus pais estivessem bravos comigo. Você já não mora com eles e tem idade para viver como adulto responsável, e é o que tudo indica, é exatamente isso que você está fazendo. Você não precisa das besteiras dos seus pais. Apenas siga sua vida do jeito que você achar certo. Não deixe seus pais controlarem a sua vida. Eles querem ter o controle, não permita que tenham. Hostia. Eu imagino que vários outros neste subreddit, estamos muito orgulhosos de você, do seu tio, do seu irmão, de sua mãe e de qualquer outra pessoa envolvida que tenha bom senso. De você, porque teve coragem de enfrentar seus pais não uma, mas duas vezes. Já 6 muitos posts como o SU, e eles são extremamente satisfatórios. Do SU tio, por estar ao SU lado sempre que seus pais tentavam comprar alguma coisa. Do SU irmão, porque finalmente a realidade bateu na cara dele, e agora ele está tentando consertar as coisas com você. De sua mãe, pelo mesmo motivo, porque ela finalmente deixou a realidade atingi-la e começou a se posicionar. Espero que você, seu tio, seu irmão, sua mãe, e todos que demonstrarão bom senso tenham ótimo dia. Seu pai, por outro lado, ainda tem muito a evoluir. E novamente, imagino que muitos outros esperamos mais dele. Reddit Relics, where every story has a side no one dares to tell. Reddit Relics comment. What an intense story, folks. It's incredible how complex and sometimes toxic family dynamics can be. In this case, the narrator's determination to protect what's his and set clear boundaries ended up exposing many painful truths about his family. The older brother, Dave, clearly didn't respect boundaries and for a long time thought he could get away with anything, especially due to the parents' favoritism. It's infuriating to see how entitled he felt to use his brother's car without permission, repeatedly, until an accident and police involvement finally brought real consequences for his irresponsible actions. The uncle's role was crucial. He not only provided support and a safe home, but also took practical steps to protect the Crown Victoria, like installing a tracker. His tough love approach toward Dave showed that family justice can be harsh, but necessary. The parents, on the other hand, demonstrated harmful favoritism, going so far as to try to cover up Dave's actions and wrongfully blame the narrator. This led to a necessary confrontation, where years of frustration and unfair treatment came to light. It's sad to see that even after everything, full reconciliation still seems difficult, but it's an important step for the narrator to assert himself and seek respect and justice. Finally, the dramatic twist with the father being arrested for assault shows that actions have consequences, and that trying to protect one family member at the expense of another can lead to disastrous outcomes. As tragic as the situation may be, perhaps it will bring about positive change, forcing everyone to reflect on their behavior and the importance of treating each other with more respect and fairness. The moral of this story is clear: boundaries matter, and mutual respect is essential in any relationship, especially within families. Sometimes, you have to confront injustice and disrespect head-on, even if that means facing tough conflicts. I hope everyone can take valuable lessons from this narrative and, hopefully, apply them in their own lives. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and share your opinions about this story. And be sure to check out other videos on the channel for more intriguing and emotional stories. See you next time.